Hi everyone, it's Miss Rossi. Today we're going to be creating artwork based on the artist Sol LeWitt. What you will be needing today is your Sol LeWitt papers from your art folder. This should be a big square white piece of paper, and you should have 4 different colored pieces of construction paper, and you should have those cut into squares, and there should be 2 of each color. So I have 2 yellow pieces, 2 green pieces, 2 purple, and 2 blue, but you might have different colors than me. You're also going to need a pencil, a glue stick, a scissor, and I have a Sharpie here, but you can use any other kind of marker or pen. Now, what we are going to be doing today is we're going to make an abstract picture using lines and shapes based on one of Sol LeWitt's wall drawings. So I am going to start with my colored pieces of paper and put everything else to the side. And on each of my pieces of paper, I am going to draw some straight lines. So we are going to practice drawing some straight vertical and horizontal lines. So starting on one edge of my colored paper, I am just going to use my marker and start drawing some straight lines that go to the other side. Now I'm going to make these into nice, neat rows, going nice and slow so I can focus on drawing carefully and neatly. I want to leave a little bit of space in between each of my lines, but I want to fit as many lines as I can on my paper. And now it's okay if your lines aren't perfect. We are just practicing this motion of drawing some straight lines. This is an important technique to practice control, to practice drawing neatly, and to practice our ability to hold and use our pens and pencils properly. So I'm going nice and slowly until I fill up my entire paper. I think I can fit one more skinny one right there. So now that I have all of my lines drawn on this piece of paper, you can see I tried to fit as many as I could. I left a small gap in between each one, and I made sure my lines weren't touching. Now I'm going to take my other piece of yellow paper and I'm going to do the exact same thing. So we're going to be drawing these straight lines on all of our papers. Now instead of drawing up and down, I'm going to practice a different motion here and draw my straight lines going from left to right. So I'm making some horizontal straight lines to practice a different motion. And as I'm doing this, I am doing the same thing as before where I'm leaving a little bit of space in between each line, but making sure that I'm still fitting a lot of lines on my paper. I don't want really, really big gaps in between my marker lines that I am drawing. I want them to be nice and close together, but not touching. And now that you've practiced drawing vertical lines, lines going up and down, and now some horizontal lines, lines going from left to right, you can see which ones you are better at drawing and which ones you like to draw more. Sometimes when I'm drawing, I think it's easier to be making a certain kind of line, so I will turn my paper so I can draw my lines in that direction. And I can see my lines got a little crooked, but I'm still going to fill up that space. There we go. So now I have my lines drawn on my yellow paper. I can put those to the side, and I'm going to do the exact same thing on all of my other colors. So I'm going to be drawing straight lines on all of my papers going from one side to the other, making sure to leave that little gap in between and focus on controlling my pen and my marker and focusing on those little movements I am making with my wrist, my hand, and my arm to draw my lines. Now that I have all of my colored papers with lines drawn on them, I'm going to grab those yellow ones to start with, put the other ones to the side. So I have 2 sets of yellow lines. I'm going to turn one of my yellow squares so my lines are horizontal going from left to right, and I'm going to leave one so my lines are vertical going straight up and down. And now I am going to pick a shape. You can pick whatever shape you would like, whether you want to do a circle, square, triangle, heart, star, rectangle, diamond. It's totally up to you. But we're going to pick one shape And on one of our pieces of colored paper, we're going to draw that shape. I think I am going to do a rectangle. So right in the center of my yellow paper here, right on top of those lines that I drew already, I'm going to draw a nice big rectangle. So that is a four-sided shape where two of the sides are nice and long and the other two are shorter. Now that I drew that with my pencil, I'm going to grab my scissor and I'm going to cut along my pencil lines nice and carefully, slowly opening and closing my scissor to cut out that shape. Perfect. I can get rid of my scraps. And now I have a rectangle and I have my background square here. With my yellow rectangle that I just cut out, I am going to place it on my other yellow paper, so my lines are going the opposite direction. So right now on my background yellow paper, my lines are going straight up and down. They are going vertically. And if I hold my rectangle this way, then the lines on my rectangle are going horizontally. So I place them on top of each other. They are going in opposite directions. And the only way we can see my rectangle shape is through those different lines that I drew on that paper. You want to make sure that as you line it up on your paper, you turn it so your lines are going the opposite direction. Once your lines are going in the opposite direction, you can grab your glue stick and put some glue on the back of your shape and glue it down to your other colored piece of paper. So again, right before I glue it, I'm going to make sure my lines are going opposite my background. So my rectangle has horizontal lines going from left to right, and my background has vertical lines going straight up and down. I can press that right into the center of my paper. So now I have this really cool camouflaged rectangle that is existing on my yellow paper, where the only way we can see our shape is by the changing of our lines. So now I'm going to do the same thing with my other colors. So I'm going to pick a different shape for my blue papers. I think maybe this time I will do a circle. So I'm going to lay out my papers, pick which one I want to draw my shape on. I think I'll draw it on this one. And I'm going to draw a nice big circle right in the center of that blue paper. And with my scissor, I am going to carefully cut out along those pencil lines. And you'll notice my scissor is staying in the same spot, and my helping hand, my hand that is not holding the scissor, is turning my paper to guide it. Can get rid of those scraps, and now I have a circle. Now looking at my other blue paper, my lines right now are going horizontal. So I want my circle lines to go the opposite direction. So if my lines are going left to right in the background, I want my circles lines to be going up and down. So I can turn my circle until the lines are facing the opposite direction. So now my circles lines are going straight up and down, and my background lines are going left to right horizontally. I can put some glue right on the back of my shape there. And again, I'm going to look at my circle, and I don't want my lines to line up like this. I want them to be the opposite. So I am turning my shape and pressing it down. So my background lines are horizontal going left to right. My circle lines are vertical going up and down. And I can put that one with my yellow one and grab my next color. So now I have my green, so I'm going to pick another shape here that is different. So I already did a circle and a rectangle. I think I'll do a nice square this time. So I'm going to draw a nice big square. Our square is our four-sided shape where all of those sides are the same length. Just like that. Once my shape is drawn with my pencil, I can grab my scissor and carefully cut it out. Notice how big I am making my shapes. I want a nice big shape so it is easy to see. I don't want something super teeny tiny. If you can still see your pencil lines from drawing your shape, you can always grab your eraser and erase those lines off of your paper. There we go. I can throw out my scraps. And now I have a square to go on my green background. Again, I'm going to turn my shape so my lines are going in the opposite direction. Once I have it right, I can glue it down right in the center, pressing it down firmly so I know it's going to stick. And now I have my square where my lines here are going vertically and my lines in the background are going horizontally. And I can pick one more shape for my final color. So I have purple here. I'm going to draw a nice big triangle for my purple. Carefully cut it out with my scissor. And now with my triangle, I don't want my lines going the same direction, so I'm not going to leave it that way. I can turn the background if I don't want to turn my shape. Maybe if you made like a heart shape and you don't want to turn it so it's upside down, you can always turn the background to change the direction of those lines. So now my triangle's lines are going straight up and down, and my background lines are going left to right. I'm going to add some glue on here and glue my final shape down. Perfect. Now we can grab our big white paper, and the last thing we're going to do is to glue all of our colored squares here onto our white paper. So our white paper is going to be a nice big background paper for us to put all of our other shapes on. So you can decide how you want to lay out your shapes and what colors you want next to each other. You can turn your shapes if you want your background lines to match, or if you want those to also be the opposite. It is up to you. And I'm just going to line up the colored edges of my papers so they touch. Let's see, I think I'm going to turn this blue one, line that up so it touches my purple one. So I might have a little bit of extra white paper around the edges, and that is okay. Our papers are not perfect. And I think I'm going to go like this with my yellow one. So once you're done, you should have all 4 of your colors laid out nicely next to each other on your white paper. And if you have a little bit of extra white paper around the edges, you can always trim that off if you don't like it. But now I'm just going to put glue on the back of all of my colors and press them down on my paper, and then I will be done. All right, great. Now that I have all of my papers glued down, if you want to take your scissor and just trim off the extra white paper that is along the edge, you can do that. And there we go. I could throw it on my little scraps. And my picture is finished. I have an awesome abstract design inspired by Sol LeWitt, where my lines are creating my shapes in each of my sections. So I have a triangle made up of vertical lines on a background that is made up of horizontal lines. I have a square made up of horizontal lines on a background of vertical lines. A rectangle made of vertical lines on a background of horizontal, and a circle of horizontal lines on a background of vertical lines. Once you're finished with your project, you can take a photo or video of it and upload it on my Canvas page. I can't wait to see all the neat and careful lines you guys have created and what kind of different shapes you chose to put on your picture. Try your best, have fun, and get creative, and I'll see you next time. Bye!